Okay.
Action!
So, Paperboy here with a special delivery for Shamsi. So, I'm doing a response to a video he made. Basically, he's endorsing paedophilia in child marriage.
Wow.
So, we have last week, you had a young Muslim brother come up to him, and he was having some difficulties with the concept that Muhammad married a 6-year-old.
Yeah. For example, like, you know the marriage of Aisha.
I knew you were going to mention marriage of Aisha.
Yeah. Well, you know how it is.
Yeah.
Why would Allah allow that if that doesn't apply in today's day and age?
So then Shamsi basically went on to make a few points.
Yeah.
He went to legitimize it and say,
So some societies, they function according to they have their own way of living. You understand? So now they look at what is the best age of marriage.
but this is a problem, and this is why I'm calling Shamsi out on several points, because this is what Shamsi is promoting. Child marriages. This is what Shamsi is promoting. Child marriages. So essentially, what Shamsi said is that Muhammad is the best example of people who engage in child marriages in other countries. Now, this is abhorrent, and we condemn this because Shamsi has been accused of using philosophy in debates with atheists or Christians, and then when he speaks to Muslims, it's a different story. So, for example, we have here when Shamsi was speaking to some Christians, and he said,
There's two things Christian they keep mixing. Not everything Prophet Muhammad did, alayhi salam, we have to follow. Some things he did was according to his culture. Prophet Muhammad's actions, not every action he did was for us to follow. Some of I'm speaking best example in divine law.
but then when a Muslim asked him, who was conflicted, he then said,
For example, back home, if you reach, I don't know about now, but when I was back home, when I was young, when a girl reached the age of 22, 23, they say she's old. Because they get married younger, you understand? In some tribes in Africa, same thing. So alhamdulillah, Prophet will be an example for those people.
so here we have Shamsi accepting paedophilia in today's society, 2022, and saying that is no problem if people are practicing child marriages, because he said when he was young, he used to work at 11 years old. He gave examples of a 75-year-old or a 20-year-old that was a grandma at the age of 20, and this is abhorrent. Then he said he lied. He made a straight lie. He said,
Did you know that children's marriage is widespread in America more than any country in the world? Did you know that? You don't know that, of course. You know why? Yes, subhanAllah, they think Yemen. No, it's not Yemen. America, the most leading country for children's marriage is America.
but there's a problem with that, and this is not true. So if I provide some evidence and we see, and I'll go to the source, it's from UNICEF, and they say, okay, so UNICEF, and here's the evidence, they say Niger has the highest overall prevalence of child marriage in the world. However, Bangladesh has the highest rate of marriage involving girls under the age of 15. So here, Shamsi straight up lied to try and legitimize his argument that somehow America has a lot of child marriages. But actually, no, it's Niger and Bangladesh according to UNICEF. And obviously, if we see Niger is officially the Republic of Niger in West Africa. And if we actually look at the demographics, it says 99.3% Islam. And then we go to Bangladesh. Bangladesh is to the east of India, the Bay of Bengal. And then when we go to the demographics again for religion, it says 91.404% are Muslim. So you have in these countries, these Islamic countries, they are practicing child marriage. Why? Because they're following in the footsteps of Muhammad, who they believe is a best example to all mankind. And this is what Shamsi struggles with, because this is a logical contradiction. He uses different arguments with atheists, Christians, and then Muslims. But the problem the young Muslim brother had, he said, how can we reconcile this with today? How can Muhammad be the best of all mankind if we don't agree with child marriages? Essentially, that's what his concern was. Because within Christianity, we know that Jesus was the best example for mankind.
Exactly.
And there was nothing that Jesus did that we disagree with.
Nothing.
But then if a Muslim is saying that Muhammad is the best example for mankind,
Yeah.
this means that anything that Muhammad did is acceptable for Muslims to do today, because they can follow what he did. So if he drank camel urine, Muslims can drink camel urine. And this is why the UN has actually condemned the practice, because they say it's not good for people. But Shamsi is making these points and he has trouble with dealing with it. So also we saw in these two countries that they're having problems with child marriages. And we also go and look at what the United Nations has to say about child marriages.
You have to say, Paperboy.
They say child marriage is a human right violation. They also go on to say child marriage threatens girls' lives and health. It limits their future prospects. Girls pressed into child marriage often become pregnant whilst they are still adolescents, increasing the risk of complications in pregnancy or childbirth. These complications are the leading cause of death amongst older adolescent girls. So Shamsi tried to make the point of saying that,
Because remember, Islam doesn't have a set age of marriage. But no doubt, Prophet Muhammad said, do not harm yourself and do not harm others.
but here's the problem. If you engage in child marriage, if an older man is going to sleep with a child, he does not know in that instant that he's going to cause her harm. So when he sleeps with her, then it may cause harm that he didn't realize. And even, let's just for argument's sake, he didn't cause harm during the intercourse. It can cause problems during pregnancy. An 8-year-old being pregnant, a 9-year-old being pregnant. This is not what we endorsed in 2022. But Shamsi is making an argument to support this, and we refute this and we condemn his endorsement of modern day paedophilia. Because even if we look at the hadith, it says, narrated Aisha, when we came to Medina, the woman came to me when I was playing on a swing and my hair was up to my ears. They brought me, prepared me and decorated me. Then they brought me to the messenger of Allah and he took up cohabitation with me when I was 9. So is Shamsi saying that this is an example for people today, that they should engage in this practice? This is abhorrent, because even in the countries that Shamsi addresses, even the minimum age is 12 years old in some of these countries. But he's saying 6 years old. This is not something that we should be applying to today. And even in refutation, because what Shamsi tries to do, he tries to appeal to history and say, well, in this specific time period, it was acceptable. For example, in the Qing dynasty, the age of marriage was 16 for men and 14 for women. This is ancient times, ancient China. We also look at the Byzantine marriage contract of Loka of Leo III. It says, the marriage of Christians, man and women, who have reached years of discretion, that is for a man of 15 and a woman of 13 years of age, both being desirous and having obtained the consent of their parents, shall be contracted either by deed or patrol. So even within the Byzantine period, the legal age for women was 13. 6 is half of that. So even in those times, it was still illegal. And then we also look at Roman ecclesiastical law, which was 12 for women and 14 for men. So again, Roman times refute Shamsi. So we're looking at, even he appeals, I think, to England. Even in England, in 1272, the age was raised to 13. And then in 1917, it was raised to 16. But Shamsi is saying, in countries, it's still acceptable today if they have their laws that say the legal age should be 6 or 9. He's accepting it. But as Christians, we would condemn that. And this is why the United Nations is condemning it and trying to get countries to increase the legal age of marriage. Because this is what Shamsi is finding acceptable. This is a young girl. She should be playing with dolls. This is acceptable. You know,
Boo, Shamsi.
we see things and we refute this. So I'm saying to anyone, how can anyone look at this and say this is acceptable for an old man to be marrying like an 8-year-old child? So this is why we're condemning what Shamsi has said, and there's no Christian that would accept this. And this is why within especially the Western world, we're trying to increase the age, because we know through science we're seeing the full development doesn't really happen until at least 16. So Shamsi is saying, well, if the country has a minimum legal age of 6 or 9, it's acceptable. This is disgraceful, and this is why I made this response to. And I'd even ask Saeed, would you accept this as marriage if a 40-year-old man today married a child like this? Who would find that acceptable?
Do you find that acceptable?
No one would find this acceptable. No one would find this acceptable. And this is why we condemn this, and we condemn Shamsi for engaging and supporting paedophilia. Would you condemn a 40-year-old man marrying this child? I'm asking you, in today, would you condemn? I'm asking you today, because we have child brides in Yemen. We have a problem with child marriages in Yemen today, and the UN is trying to stop it. And there are people out in this park who are endorsing this, and this is disgraceful. And we say we condemn it, and that's the end. Paperboy out.
Your Bible says keep it around.
My friend, look at this. Is this acceptable?
Your Bible, mate.
Is this acceptable?
Your Bible.
Look at this. Look at these child. Is this acceptable? It's like,
Look at your Bible.
you see? Is it? Answer the question. Is it acceptable?
Look at your
Is it
Bible.
acceptable?
Your Bible say yes.
Is it acceptable
Your Bible say yes.
for a 40-year-old man to sleep with
Bible
a
say
9-year-old?
Give him
Give him a chance to answer. Give him a chance to
Your Bible,
answer.
yes.
Right, give him a chance to answer. Sorry? I think he's
Is it acceptable for a 40-year-old man to sleep with a 9-year-old?
Your Bible say
You
yes.
see, he can't answer the question. He can't answer the question. Is it acceptable? I asked you a specific question. My question requires a yes or no answer. The Bible is not going to help you. I'm asking you, is it acceptable for a 40-year-old man to sleep with a 9-year-old child?
According to your Bible, yes.
I'm asking you again. I'm asking you, answer the question.
Countdown.
Is it acceptable?
I saw it in
Is
your
it
Bible.
acceptable for a 40-year-old man?
7,
6, 5, 4.